Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to work on cutting and wrapping the bars that are left after we cut. Don't be afraid, it's not as hard as some think it is. At first it's a little bit scary, but we're going to get through that. Before we get started, what you're going to need today is your number 8 pearl cotton, a pair of tweezers. That just makes it easier. These were, oh my goodness, I think I forget what they were called. I want to say Uncle Ben's tweezers. And again, I got them at Nordic Needle. I really don't know where else they are available, but any old tweezers will do. I mean, even tweezers you use to pluck your eyebrows will do. I know some places sell these that have a magnifier with them, and these are okay too. It's just going to save your fingers when it comes to pulling the threads out that we're going to pull away, and some of you might find the magnifier helpful. I mean, I know I use these old eyes are needing magnifiers more often than they don't anymore, but my preferred ones are these little guys here. They have nice precise points, and in fact they're even great for other things like removing splinters or anything that's going to take a fine point. So, pair of tweezers, and last but not least, a pair of scissors. Now, you want a pair of scissors that is going to have fine points and sharp points. And as I said before, if this is something you're going to do a lot of, you're going to want to invest in a good pair of scissors. It's just going to make your life a whole lot easier in the long run. These happen to be my favorite ones. They are Dovo Scissors, and the number on them is number 40. And when I bought these, I bought them mainly to do Hardanger work, because they do have long, thin, very, very sharp blades. And that's really what you want to be able to get in. Now, on this 22 count, yes, it's important, but you can get away with a blade that is maybe a little thicker, so to speak, than these, because your fabric is less threads, okay? Whereas if you're doing something on a 32 count, you'd really want these little skinny blades, because there isn't as much, you don't have as much play with when you're cutting. But cutting really is not difficult. I'm going to show you how I do it. There are people that will show you to cut, when we're cutting, to cut just one thread at a time. I don't do that. I really prefer to take the plunge and cut all 4 instead of just one at a time. I mean, think about it. If you're doing, okay, say a very long table runner, and you have to cut, say that open area goes around the whole the whole edge in the border. That's a lot of cutting to be cutting one thread at a time. So, all of that being said, let's do this together and get started. Okay, first of all, the biggest thing to remember is you have this side of your cloister block, which kind of has a tunnel. Okay, that is where you do not want to cut. Okay, if you cut there, things aren't going to stay together as well In fact, they'll probably fall apart. So that is the side you do not want to cut on. You want to cut on the side that has the stitches. Now, when I was learning this, my mentor gave me a little saying or a way to remember which side of your block to cut on. And what you want to think of, it's your cluster blocks are 5 stitches over 4 satin threads. On 4 threads of fabric. So it's 5 satin stitches over 4 threads of fabric. If you think of those satin stitches as baby's toes, okay? What you're going to do when you're cutting is you're going to trim the baby's toenails. Okay? So, I'm going to cut 4 threads at a time. So my first cut's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 threads. Okay? So, here's the reason you need long, thin blades. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my scissor at the bottom of the first satin stitch. I'm going to go along and I'm going to come up at the 5th satin stitch. Okay, can you see that? See, my needle thread comes up, my scissor come up there and they come down there. So before I do anything, and before you do anything, take your time, check and recheck. So do I have 4 on there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there's 4 threads on there. I'm going to tilt my thread. I'm having trouble talking today. I'm going to tilt my scissors just a little bit to the left. I'm going to take this is your first cut. This is the hardest one. You can do this. You can totally do this. I'm going to tilt it just a little bit to my left. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm double checking again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there's 4 threads on there. I am good. I'm going to now cut. Congratulations. You have just made your first cut. That wasn't so hard, was it? Now, here's something else to remember. If you go around and you cut here, along this one, next, you're going to have a more difficult time cutting this one because all of this is going to flop around. Okay? So when you're cutting 3 sides, which you're doing right here, you want to cut this, or you want to cut one of the sides, you want to cut the sides first and then the top last, so that you have, when you cut this, you still have everything attached here to give you a little more stability when you're cutting here at the top. If you cut the top first, those threads are now going to be floppy, so that it's not going to give you a stable piece of fabric to cut here. So next cut, here we go. You can do this. Insert your blade at the bottom of the stitch. Bring it out at the top. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you got this. Take another deep breath. You can do it. And cut. Now, see here, you got these little tiny things, ends showing sometimes. Don't worry about that, because what's going to happen is, remember, your fabric, your Hardanger fabric especially, is 100% cotton. what happens to cotton when you wash it? Yep, it shrinks a little bit. So when you wash this, those little threads are going to work themselves up into the cloister block and they're going to disappear. Okay, so now you see, how we've cut here and here. So you see how this is still attached. So it's going to make it easier to cut. So turn your piece so that you can continue cutting the same direction as you have been. And this is the easy one because it's already it's already determined for you. So once again, blade in, blade come up, across, double check. Yep, I got 4. And did I get all 4? Yep. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to cut. And there we go. And then double check. Okay, see? Oh, look, there. I only had half that one, so I'm just going to go back in and trim that puppy. There we go. So now, there is our first hole. That wasn't so bad. Now you want to continue working around the whole piece. So we're going to cut here, and the same thing. Take your time. 2, 3, 4. And this is a lot of turning of your fabric. Go in here. Okay. And up. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now that has now loosened this one. Okay. And we're going to jump down to here. And these, it doesn't really matter which you do first. Okay. 4. And once you do enough cutting, you'll get a little more confident in what you're doing. And it will be a lot easier. But just take your time. 4. Okay. Got a hole again. Now we're back to where we have to cut on 3 sides again. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And sometimes you just have to hold your wow. Pardon my shaky hands. Here. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then cut the top. I hope you're all seeing this okay. I changed my setup a little bit to try and get it not to be so wobbly and so that I don't bump my phone. Okay, we're gonna go here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just take your time and work your way around. Every cut gets a little easier. You get a little more confident. You can do this. Believe me, if I can do this, Anybody can do it. If you have to stop the video until you get around, feel free to do that. It'll be here when you come back. Okay. I remember the first time I cut, and I was like, oh my God, I did all this work. I don't want to mess it up. And I was scared. But once I learned the little trick of thinking of it as baby's toes, and actually made that first few cuts, I went, well, it's not so bad. I can do this. I think I might, there we go. And like I said, some people prefer to cut one thread at a time, and it's okay if you want to do that. Again, my own personal preference is to cut 4 at a time, because if you have a lot of cutting to do, that's a long way around, and I don't know how it will work for you, but I know that my hand got a little sore from the scissors, especially back here at the thumb hole. Okay, we're almost around. Just a couple more. Oh, look, I didn't end off my threads from the last time. Naughty, naughty girl I am. Now, and don't be afraid. If you make a mistake, they can be fixed. But that's a whole nother session. Okay? Now, once you've been around all of them on the outside, the next place we have, you're thinking, okay, that's all well and good, but this spot in the middle is going to prevent me from pulling threads out. Okay? So we need to cut at the bottom of all 4 of these, because that's where the toes are. Now, just a reminder, that's also, if you have eyelets, why we're going to do the eyelets first. Because if you've cut here already, you've cut all 4 here, and you go back in to do this eyelet, remember how we pulled to get this eye open? What you could end up doing is there's just short pieces of thread underneath here now. You could end up pulling them out with your pull to do the eyelets. So you don't want to do any cutting until all your eyelets are done. I've chosen not to put eyelets around the outside. That's why I'm okay to cut. So, last place we want to cut is here. And it's the same way. Go in the bottom of your of your stitch, go over 4, double check, and cut. Okay, now we're going to do this one. Bottom of my stitch, over 4, and cut. Bottom of my stitch, and one thing you want to watch is that you're not splitting. Since Hardanger, the threads are kind of doubled, you don't want to split them. And cut. And last cut is right here. And cut. So, congratulations. You have just cut your first piece of Hardanger. I'm proud of all of you. Look how far you've gotten. I don't know how many of you who knew anything when we started, or if you're all new to this art, but congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You did an awesome job. You got your first piece cut. So now what's left is, let's get rid of those threads that we just cut. Okay, so you can really start anywhere. I kind of start here and get rid of these tiny little ones, and you're just going to use your tweezers and pull them off. Get up here a little closer so you can see. Okay, pull them out of your way. And if you start there, that leaves you something to be able to get a hold of. And you will see at this point, did you split any that you might have missed just half of one? But looks like we're good to go here. So, and this is why tweezers, because can you imagine getting a hold of all these little ones with your fingers? And especially that first one is hard to pull. So, we're going to grab a hold of this with our tweezers. I put my thumb on here, and we're going to start. And the first one comes a little hard. We're going to pull it out, and then we're going to pull the next one out, and pull the next one out, and the next one, and then we're going to pull. Now, it looks like we're pulling 8, and we are, because if you notice, your Hardanger fabric is two threads running in each direction that make up your one thread. So, let's pull the next one, and the next one. Now, from here it gets a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to skip these 4 because they're still attached. Here's our little, one of these little ones. So skip these 4 because they're still attached. And that's what makes the blocks that we're going to weave. Okay, so the next one we're going to pull from here. So see, it's a lot shorter. It's a lot easier to pull. Okay, we'll skip 4, and then let's pull these 4. Pardon me. I think I'm catching a bit of a cold. Okay. And again, we're just going to work our way around. and pull all those threads that we've cut. And it's easier, rather than trying to go here, which you can. I find it easier to pull here because you got a short end there, and then you can just see, always that first set of going in any direction. Oh gosh, these old hands, they just shake. Now see that one, I think, and that's why I stopped. I think I missed trimming that one, but I'll show you that in a second. And when it pulls hard, just take a minute and double check that you've cut both ends of it, because sometimes, especially when you're using this Hardanger fabric, sometimes it ends up split and you're only cutting one of the two, and we'll be able to see that over here. I'm going to pull these out next, just so I can show you that. Oh, sorry, I did cut it. It just pulled hard. But sometimes, because Hardanger is the double threads, sometimes you miss cutting that. So if it pulls too hard, just double check that you have both ends cut. I can remember one time where I didn't have the end cut, and I really yanked and pulled it out, and I ended up pulling it out all the way, like back over here. Only it wasn't an edge that I was going to cut around. It was in the center of my design. Now, it can be fixed, because what you do is you pull that thread out then, and you reweave in another thread so that you actually replace it. So there are ways to fix, and there are books out there that explain how to fix things if you've made a cutting mistake. We try not to have that happen, but guess what? Last time I checked, we were all human. We all make mistakes. It's okay. They can be fixed. Nobody's perfect. See, there's another one that wants to be tough, but it's cut. It just wants to be a little persnickety. But we're almost all the way around. Now, you can hopefully understand why I say get yourself a pair of tweezers, whatever kind that you choose, whether it be these, and I honestly don't know if you can find them anymore, but I like them, or if it's just a regular pair, I'll show you, these work just as well. Because can you imagine your fingers if you're pulling, and you can just pull it with your fingers, but can you imagine how, I mean, I have not real long nails, but I do have nails, and you're really having to grab that thread to get a hold of it. So can you imagine how sore your fingers might get? until you've got all of those pulled. Yeah, not so much fun. But you can, as you can see, you can use any kind of tweezers. And these just happen to be my favorite ones. We're almost there. As I said, if you need to stop the video, until you get each step done, feel free to do that. I'm not going anywhere. It will be here when you're done with that step and ready to move forward. I could have paused here and done this and came back with it when it's finished, but I did want you to see how it's done, and it takes a little bit of time, but as I said, that's okay, and we'll get through this. Okay, alrighty, there we go. Ouch. Oh. All our ends are we're all cut. Our threads are pulled. Okay, now we're going to wrap, but let's talk a little bit about wrapping first. You always want to wrap so that you don't end up in a place that you can't get out of. Okay? So, what I do is stair steps. Okay? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? And then, because I have this to anchor into, I can go around the inside. If this was a bigger area, what I would do is stair step it so that I always have a place to end. So I could go like this and then come back up like this, go there, work my thread under, go this way, see there, I would have ended up there and couldn't. So you find your path, and in this one, just stair step it from side to side. You don't want to go here and then here, 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 here. Always work it as a stair step. And this one, because you can end in the center, it's easiest go around the outside, then go around the center. Okay? So, this is the one time, pardon me, I have trouble with this hand. This is the one time where I do use a hoop, because it helps to keep my threads straight. And one of the things you don't want to do is, when you're wrapping, overfill your threads, because then they will not lay flat. They'll get all kinds of bumpy and not so nice looking. So you want them to lay straight and you want them to lay flat. Putting this in a hoop at this stage helps me to do that. And I only ever use a small hoop because I want to be able to feel in the back what's going on. Now, you don't need to put it on tight. You don't need to pull this so that it's drum tight. you need it to have a little bit of play in it. Okay? Now, I'm going to put some I'm going to get rid of these threads. I'm going to be a bad girl just because this is just a test piece. Okay. And I take a fairly decent length of thread. You don't want it too long, but you don't want it too short either. And thread my needle. Okay. So I'm gonna start here. So the first thing I want to do is anchor my thread as we have in the past. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, lock it in. Okay. Oh, I did it again. Here I have that. Thought I had it set up that I'm not going to bump. And then you want to come up on either side of this first bar. Doesn't matter if you come up here or here. Either side is fine. And what we're going to do now is you have 4 threads. 4 threads left on this. We call them bars. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just wrap these bars in a figure 8. I'm going to go down in the middle, come up on the other side, and pull. Down in the middle, come up on the side towards me, and pull. Down in the middle. Now, I would count as you're going. So that was 3. This is 4. 5, 6, 7. And if you notice, I'm giving it a nice pull. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, now there, that looks just about what it would take to have a nice even flat bar. So that was 15, and we're up here. So we need to now get down to this one. So what you do is go down in the middle and come up here and move to your next bar. Now I turn it this way, and this is one of the reasons I like a smaller hoop, because I like to be able, if you notice, to put my finger on the back of the bar. Now we know that that took 15, and on 16 we came across. So we're going to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't catch your tweezers. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. See, you just want to have them nicely filled, but not overfilled. And then on 16, we move to this one. Okay. And we just keep doing the same thing till we worked ourselves all the way around. Now, if you don't think you have enough thread, in this case, to wrap this bar and this bar so that you can get back here to the side. Say I was going around and I was a lot further and my thread was starting to get short, and I wrapped this bar, but I didn't think I was going to have a length long enough to do here and here so that I could get back to this where I could end it. End it while you're here. Start a new thread and then continue on. So, and that's why I said you always want to keep yourself that you have an out, so that you can end threads when needed and start new threads when needed, and not be stuck, say, in here and go, oh geez, ran out of thread. Now what? For now, I would say if you can't complete enough, don't have enough thread to complete the bars, end it and start another one. Worse comes to worse, you could work your thread over to the next bar. That would have to be another lesson to show you how to do that, because you're would have to run your ending thread along this bar and work over it, as well as a new starting thread and work over it. So for now, just making sure you can get to the right places is what I'm going to leave you with as far as that's concerned. Okay. So you just continue working this way until you're all the way around. Okay. When you get all the way around, we'll need to do these inside ones. And that would be starting your thread in here, coming up and working these bars this way till you got back to your starting point, and then ending them off. Now, what I'm going to do, since this really for me is just the piece I am using to teach you and going the opposite way on my bars here. I like to wrap this way. I always like to wrap from right to left because I think it helps me get the tension on this stitch much better. And one of these days I'll learn where to put this that I don't bump it. My stand that my goosenecky thing that my phone is on. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back at this point because I would have a way to work around these stitches. But I'm going to jump over to this bar. And I'm going to come back and I want to show you how to do a dove's eye. And that's one of the stitches that is, I believe, is called for in our pattern, and one that's used a lot. Another stitch that's used a lot is a picot, and I'm not going to do that one in this series. That takes a little bit more fiddling, and this particular round of tutorials, I really just wanted to get you some basics and get you started. If people are interested in going further, you can let me know, and we can work on that. So to do a dove's eye, I want to fill this bar yet. You want 3 out of your 4 bars of a square filled in. Okay. So let's fill in this one quick. Well, let's get this one filled in so that it's on the 4th bar of that square that we're going to actually do the dove's eye. Almost there. Okay, so when you have as you can see, we have 3 bars wrapped. 1, 2, 3. Bar number 4, we're going to wrap half of it. So that would be, since we've been doing about 16 stitches, that would be 8. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you want to be on the inside of the block that you're going to do the dove's eye on. So that would be 8. Okay? These really are not near as hard as they look. What you want to do is this. You want to take your thread and lay it across the block. Hold it with your thumb. Okay? The bar to your right, you want to go down through the middle. Okay, see that? Down through the middle, and bring your needle up on top of the thread that you're holding across the center. Okay, and then pull. All right. See how that leaves a... Let me open it up a little bit for you before I pull it too tight. Okay, there. And just pull it gently. You don't want to over tighten it, just so that it lays nicely. Next part is, again, down through the middle. Lay your thread through the middle. go down in the center of the bar and bring your needle up on top of the thread and pull. So now we have, as you can see, there we go, half of it done. Once again, lay it across, hold it with your thumb, down through the middle, bring it up over that thread, and pull. There. So now you see we have 3 of those done. To end it, back where you started, you're going to go under that thread, the thread that made the first part of the dove's eye. And now finish wrapping your bar. And there you go. So you complete wrapping the bar. And try not to do what I just did, where you catch the catch in the dove's eye itself. Okay. And you would work on to the next one. And you could put a dove's eye in each one of these all the way around. So you would work, if you're going to work around the whole outside, it would be when you're working around the inside that you would complete your dove's eyes. So that once you have 3 sides of a block done, when you're working the 4th side, you then insert a dove's eye. So that's wrapping. Not hard at all. Pretty easy. And I'm just going to stick my needle in here, and the last part, once you have finished all your cloister blocks, all your eyelets, all your cutting and wrapping, the only thing you have left to do is cut it out. Cut all this excess fabric away. So really, that's just a matter of I'm gonna show you that a little bit and work your way around. So what you're going to do is cut up to the edge of your piece. Okay. And then you're just going to follow it around. Trimming as close as you can get. And when you get to these little corners, you might want to lift it up, but you're just going to work your way, snipping carefully. Snipping carefully in there. And I kind of like try to get into that corner stitch. And I'll go in then from this direction, just carefully snip. You just take your time, and it's kind of the same way as cutting your the inside when we did your other blocks. There we go. Because sometimes you have to fuss with it a little bit to make sure you have all the threads cut. Okay, and then just cut around the outside again. It's these inside corners that are the fussiest to get. And that's usually where you get these little, see, there's another one. So that can be clipped yet. Okay, and then we can continue around, and you just continue going like that all the way around. If you get these little extra thingies here that stick up, you just kind of fluff them up and cut them off. Okay, and then that's how you cut your entire piece out. And once again, you might get these little, there, you can cut those off. And you might have these little ends sticking out here, and once again, when you wash it, those will just pull up inside of your piece. And you continue to go around like that and cut your whole piece out. Okay? So, congratulations. Once you've completed your wrapping, putting dove's eyes in, let me get some white behind there so you can see it. Putting dove's eyes in if you so choose to do that. Cutting around the outside, and again, it's time consuming. It takes some patience. My best advice to you is do not cut if you're upset about something, if you're overly tired. So if you've had a long day, long hard day at work, and things are not going the greatest, that's not going to be an evening that you want to come home and cut Hardanger, because you're bound to make a miscut. Wait until you've had a good night's sleep and you're fresh and awake and able to concentrate on it, and you will be fine. So, once again, thank you everyone so much for watching. Thank you everyone, to all the new subscribers. Thank you to those who have subscribed and keep coming back. I do really, really appreciate it. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you'd like to see more videos in this series on how to do more things, please leave that in the comments below. I know there are other Hardanger videos out there on YouTube. Actually, I've seen some and I've watched some that are also very, very good. So if you want a different perspective on how somebody else does it, check those out. Not everybody does the same. Or The end result is the same. Ways of getting there are different. So that's okay. But I do appreciate it. I appreciate all the kind things people have said about these videos. And as I said, if you want to learn other things, please leave me a message and we can look into doing some of those. Hopefully I can won't have them be so as long as this, because you have the basics. And with these basics, you can virtually go out there and do almost any piece. So good luck with it. Enjoy your stitching. Have fun. And most of all, find your joy.